James Barfield here with your Urban Connection. And remember, this is the channel that is often imitated, but is never duplicated. And this morning, I have a guest on who is a former state senator from Wichita, a former businessman. Well, he's still a businessman, but he's known for his barbecue restaurant that he had. And he's now venturing into another area. So he's still a businessman. His name is Eugene Anderson. And welcome to the show, Mr. Anderson.
Good morning, welcome, and thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Anderson, you have written a book, and I'm intrigued by the title of the book. And it says, you talk about a gentleman, the life and times of John W. Monk, who was born in 1916 and passed away in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
You refer to him as a warrior, a patriot, a hero, and a mentor. Now, that's quite a contribution to a gentleman that I have to believe that you know or have known or did know personally. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I met Mr. Monk back about 1968 or 69 when I moved into the neighborhood that close to where he and his family operated a dry cleaning business. And I got to learn a lot about him over the years that came after our meeting each other and getting to know each other. And he was a career soldier, a retired master sergeant. And he served this nation wearing the uniform of a soldier in 3 different conflicts, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Oh, okay. And so you met him and became acquainted with him, and you guys were, I guess, close friends during that period?
Oh, I would think we developed a very close friendship through the years. And matter of fact, as he grew older.
Your video, your audio is muted.
I would drive him back to his hometown of Haynesville, Louisiana, where he grew up. And driving him back and forth, he really shared a lot of his life experiences with me of not only growing up in the military, in Haynesville in a segregated society, but also traveling the world and going to different places and spending 20 years as a member of the United States Army. So I got to learn a lot about him. One of the trips I went with him to Louisiana was sponsored by his American Legion Post 273 in 2014, and we raised the money to rent a motorhome to take him down, so that he could enjoy his trip in style, and he gave me a lot of information on that trip that ended up appearing in the book that I published about his life.
Okay. Now, let's start with this. You said first you used him as a warrior. Can you explain in what way or what gives you the right to use that term, that word, warrior?
Well, that's what he was trained to be. Soldiers are basically warriors who fight battles for the nation that they serve. And I think the term for him is very befitting because he was a warrior more than just in the military. He was a warrior in society because he had to fight through a lot of things that were unfair to him because of his race. And he had to be trained to fight as a soldier. And he taught other soldiers the technique for fighting because, one of the primary purposes of soldiers is to kill people and break things.
Sure.
And he did that very proficiently. He became a master sergeant because of his ability to learn those things and teach those things to other soldiers. So I think it's fair to refer to him as a warrior.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, he was trained in the military to be a fighter and fight for his country. But I think you're saying he also transitioned to being a warrior, but fighting for justice as a civilian. Is that correct?
I would say so. Yes.
Oh,
And in addition to that, he had to fight through things growing up before he even went into the military.
sure.
And even after he was discharged from the military, coming back out into society after 20 years, it was a constant battle for him. He had to fight for the loan that he and his family secured to buy the building that he purchased and paid for in his lifetime, where he used to operate his cleaning business along with his family. And in that business, they taught other people about the cleaning business. And matter of fact, three of those individuals that they worked with ended up operating their own dry cleaning business right here in the city. And he encouraged them to do that
Okay.
because he felt that there was enough business in the community where more than one dry cleaning business could survive.
Sure.
And so I think he was a warrior in the community, very quiet, not a lot of fanfare.
Sure.
Did a lot of things that I'm trying to recognize in this book about his life that occurred in his life that a lot of people don't know.
Sure.
And I think his story is worthy of being shared.
Okay. Now, I notice here, as I said earlier, that he was born in 1916. So
Yes.
we certainly know what the situation was in terms of discrimination, racial disruption that took place during that era. So let's say that he was 20 years old when he decided to join the military. So that would have brought us up to 1946. Times were still tough. This was still a segregated America. And
Yes.
so naturally he learned, as you say, he learned to fight and be a warrior in the fight for his rights.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if we advance, he spent 20 years in the military fighting for his country, and that would bring us up to 1966. This is just after the passage of the Civil Rights Bill, the Voting Rights Act, and whatever. But
Hmm.
still, he still came back home to a segregated America that
Yes.
did not give him the same opportunities as his white brothers that he fought alongside in the war.
Yes.
you know, so now he comes back and he's a warrior for justice, but he also finds the energy to become an entrepreneur. And as you say,
Yes.
he chose the dry cleaning business, and
Yes.
he was successful at that. Now, was he the only at that time? Was he the only African American dry cleaner in Wichita?
No. No. Their cleaners operated at 17th and Poplar. There
Okay,
was another dry cleaning place down on 9th Street. I believe that was Sexton Cleaners back
Sexton.
then.
Yes,
Yeah, down on 9th Street.
yes,
Uh, those are the only two that I recall from that period until uh, Dresswell. I think Dresswell was not originally an African American owned cleaners, but it
right,
ended up being an
right,
African American owned cleaners. And of course, eventually that was Ken's Cleaners. Your
right.
your brother, he was taught by the monks,
Okay,
and he
okay,
ended up opening his own business.
right,
Yes.
right. Okay. Well, that's I've learned something already because I knew my brother was in the cleaning business for a long time, but I never knew where he got his training from or he got his
Hmm.
inspiration from. So I've learned
Yep.
something there.
And
Okay,
I might add that the monks encouraged him.
sure,
They wanted him to venture out on his own.
sure,
And I've always thought that was very graceful because he was going to be serving some of the same clientele that they were going
sure,
to be serving, but it didn't
sure.
matter to them because they felt that the community needed to grow,
Right,
and
right,
so
right. Okay, now what I want to do right now, Eugene, is I want you to show my audience the cover of the book that you have published.
Let me see if I can get this to work right here, Mr. Barfield, because I have the book in my hand here.
But just
And
hold
I
it up
guess
in
I
front
have,
of the camera. Just hold it up in
okay,
front of the camera.
if I can find my camera here. Uh, this is kind of, oh, here we go. Here we go. Yes. Uh, this is the title of the book. It's a 148 page book. It comes
Okay.
in hardcover and ebook.
Okay.
The publisher decided not to go with a paperback because they thought that it's the kind of book that if people purchase it and read it, they're going to want to save it. And
Sure.
they felt that the hardcover would probably give a little more life
Sure.
wear than the paperback. But
Okay.
I know it's a, at 148 pages, it's probably a lot to pack 102 years of living into. But
Sure.
when I was trying to put this together, I thought about uh, how he lived his life, the kind of personality he had, because he was not a very long, drawn out person. He was very direct. And I think that probably not only came from his growing up, in a big family, in a poor community. I think a lot of that came from his military service because he was used to being direct with people. And I
Sure.
didn't want to go through a whole lot of verbiage, excess verbiage to share his story.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I tried to do that as accurately and as precisely as I could because I think he would want it that way.
And what branch of service was he in?
He served in the United States Army.
Army. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, now let me ask you, where can the book be purchased at?
The book is available online at Barnes and Noble. It is available on Amazon.com. It is available directly from the author, from me,
Okay.
uh, and that will be an autograph copy. And
Okay.
I am checking to see if it's available at a couple of other bookstores that were contacted by the publisher on behalf of, of the author, because that was their job. A part of promoting this book is to contact the list of bookstores that I provided to them, and I did provide them some a list of that they would send out the press release and any other pertinent information about how to order the book, how the bookstores could purchase the book, but the distributor in those cases deal directly with the bookstores, not with the author.
Okay. Now, if they wanted to get a signed autograph copy from you, where will they purchase that at?
They can come to my office at 2410 East 17th Street, which is right next door to the building that Mr. and Ms. Monk used to operate the cleaners in. That's where my office is now. Or
Okay.
they can call my phone at 316-641-2279, and I will make a copy available to them.
Okay. And for those people that are not familiar, 2410 is just east of 17th and Grove.
Yes.
Uh, so just to clarify, make it easy for you. Okay. Now, when was the book first published?
The book was published officially in September of 2021. I received the first copy, the author's copy of the book, in November of 2021. So the
Okay.
book has been out less than a year,
Okay.
and we've been pushing the sales of the books through bookstores all across the country that I have contacted, and as well as the author. So it's beginning to get some traction, and
Okay.
I think that if people get into this story about this man's life, I think they're going to become very interested in it, and I don't want to tell too much about the book because people won't buy it. But I, I think that one of the things that fascinated me about this man is that he did all of these things with the seventh grade education. And
Interesting.
not because he did not want to go beyond the seventh grade, but the time and place that he grew up, there was no high school for him to attend. So when he completed the seventh grade, schooling was done for him as well as any other people who looked like him where he grew up, because there was no high school for children of, I just say colored people, was the term I think was used back then. And but he didn't stop learning, because because he was a very extremely intelligent man, and he took those basic skills that he was taught in those 7 years that he went to school of reading, writing, and arithmetic, and he built an education system for himself. And I think a lot of the travel that he experienced in the military, going to different countries, learning to speak different languages, learning to work with different people, I think that broadened his education way beyond what he would have gotten in a high school. So just because he had a seventh grade education, and you wouldn't have, if you had talked to him, you would never know that unless he told you.
Sure.
You would swear he was a college professor from the way he spoke.
Sure.
But he did not let a lack of education hold him back. And because he had a mantra that he used his life about using your talent. And he says, use your talent and forget about your race. Because if you use your talent, talent doesn't have a color. He says, so you use that talent that you're gifted with, and don't worry about the color, because talent, people will notice your talent. And he lived by that. So,
if we think back about those times, he was basically not different than a lot of African Americans who didn't graduate high school. Some of them didn't even enter high school. They
right.
had, but they had talents, okay,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they had the knowledge because they all experienced. And I'm assuming that Mr. Monk experienced discrimination even while in the military, because the
Oh, a lot of
military
it.
at that
A
time,
lot of
okay. So
it.
yeah,
Believe me.
so they had all of this to overcome, but they still maintained within themselves the ability to get beyond all of that and to make something of themselves in spite of not having what you might call a college education or even a high school diploma, whatever, and that's what we need to learn today. We still are a discriminated country. Okay, there's still systemic racism going on every day in this country, but we must learn to overcome that and be successful and be determined that we're going to make something of ourselves in spite of what we face on a daily basis here in America. And that's what
I
I
think
admire about people from that generation.
I think, those obstacles that we have all faced in our lives like that because of the color of our skin, you have to work around those things. You have to work through those things. You have to work past those particular things. And he shared with me, he said in his home, the teaching of his parents was, first of all, have respect for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Show respect to other people. Whatever you do in life, do those things to the best of your ability, and do not allow your heart to become filled with hate. Yes. And he lived by that. And believe me, that was not easy for this man, because he was a big man, and he could be real mean if he wanted to be, because he was taught to be real mean.
Sure.
And he almost got lynched one day just trying to get some food to eat when he was on his way from one military duty station to another one. Mm-hmm. And some people in a pickup truck tried to lash his neck so that they could drag him behind the truck. And he was just swift enough and agile enough to keep the whip from locking around his neck to save his life. And by this time, he's a sergeant first class in the United States Army that's been in the Army about 12, 14 years. Right. And he's in full uniform when they attempted to take his life. Okay. And that bothered him. You know, when he had to go through the lynching of a friend of his when he was about 14 years old, that bothered him all his life. And he would share those things very sparingly, and then only with certain people, because those things, as I got to know him, took him in a dark place, to a dark place, you know, and the tears would flow when he talked about it. And I tell you, you couldn't help but have some tears in your eyes, because you could see the pain coming out. You know, that some of those things that he suppressed his feelings for a long time. But I tried to bring those things out in this book as he shared those things with me, you know, and I tried to do that in as forceful of a way as I could without being mean spirited. But I wanted to share that part of his life story with the readers.
Okay, and tell us once again, what part of the country was he raised in? I have got my assumptions, but I just want to hear you say, what part of the country was he raised in?
He was born and raised in Haynesville, Louisiana.
Okay, yeah, thank you
Which
said
is,
that. Okay.
and if you find Haynesville, Louisiana, you got to be looking for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This is one of those, if you blink your eye, you go right through
it. Yeah. But you know, and I've been there several times. It's a friendly town. You know, I mean, everybody's like most small towns. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody remembers the Monk family. I mean, there were so many of them. You know, I think it's about 12 sisters and brothers, and plus all the uncles and aunts. But you know.
Okay. Now, one more thing I want to do here, because I want you to tell my audience once again the name of the book, and if you want to, you can hold it up again. The name of the book and where it can be purchased at.
It's called A Warrior, a Patriot, a Hero, and a Mentor: The Life and Times of John W. Monk, 1916 to 2018. The book is available online at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. It is available from me, the author. My address is 2410 East 17th Street in Wichita, Kansas. And that will be an autographed copy. You can contact me at 316-641-2279, and I will make a copy of the book available to you. And I would love to do that, because I really want to share his life story, because I think it's a story worth being told.
Very good. Very good. Mr. Anderson, you stated that you didn't want to tell us too much because people wouldn't buy the book, but I think we've given them enough to pique their interest, okay, and inspire them to purchase the book. And I think with you making available an autographed copy, that's a plus. So,
well, I would hope so, and I really thank you for giving me the opportunity to share something about this book, because you know, it means a lot to me, and it certainly means a lot to his family, and being able to sell this book out, you know, at my office in a building that he and his family struggled to buy and pay for, and went through a whole bunch of unnecessary drama to get a loan approved to buy this building. I think that means a lot to me, you know,
sure.
that because of his struggle of he and his family, that we're able to market a book about his life from a building that he left to his family when he passed on.
Well, you know, he in his lifetime inspired several people, and we really don't know how many, but we do know the ones that actively opened up a business and became entrepreneurs because of his inspiration, his teachings. We have to assume that through reading this book, a lot of other people would be inspired, okay, to motivate themselves to better their life and become enriched, okay, by reading his book. That would be the hope. So I hope that many of my audience members will be purchasing your book and reading it. And we need to know about this part of our history, okay, people that were like you said, he was a quiet, unsung hero. Okay.
Right,
And so,
right.
yeah, that needs to be exposed. So, sir, I appreciate your taking the time to come and share this knowledge and this book with our audience this morning. And thank you so very much. And if there's anything else that I can do, sir, to help you, let me know.
Well, I appreciate the help you've given me this morning, and not only appearing on this podcast, but showing me how to use my phone a little better. So, thank you very much.
Mr. Anderson, it's been a pleasure having you, sir. And you have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Bye.